Look at my email real quick and see if I've had any that I've missed.
Going live on YouTube.
I don't see anything. I don't have any emails.
I don't have any emails saying anyone's not going to be here. I know Gary emailed to know if we had a pre-meeting.
It says, who's in California? This one says, hi, Mark, I'm in California.
Our applicant for 632 Arlington.
Yeah, that's Mr. Randall.
Okay.
Now, it's my understanding that the only folks that have signed in opposition are for Hydrolia Street and Main Street.
But we do have an email that I have downloaded as a PDF for the 632. It's more of a concern from in town.
Okay.
On this
A concern of what, Randy?
632 Arlington for the interpretation.
I get a lot of reverberation or something. You're not coming through very clear. At least on my end.
Yeah, Randy's audio is wonky.
We have Gary coming on now and Tim coming on now.
Guys, can you hear me better? I can turn my volume down, but then I might not be able to hear you guys.
No, Josh would be here unless he got delayed or something.
Randy, can you hear me?
Whoever it was, who was that?
This is Tony Widener on my iPad.
Okay. All right, well, I hear you.
I hear you as well.
Okay. Just want to make sure I was connected.
Still missing a couple of commissioners, or at least one. How many have I got?
Yeah, Bechtel and Tim Jones.
Okay, all right.
I'm here.
Okay. Hey, Tim.
Josh is coming on board.
Okay,
Or actually, he's on board.
very good. Here's Tony. There's Josh. Okay, Josh and Tim and Gary. Oh, there's Liz.
I'm here.
Hey, Liz. Is Liz there?
Yes, ma'am, I'm here.
All right, very good.
You can put me in the waiting room wherever you want me to go, just as long as I can hear.
Okay. That's Mark's job. All right, if everybody's here, we will.
Everybody but Brian. I don't see Brian.
He'll probably come in on his phone.
Is my reverberation any better?
To me,
Not
Really. All right, I haven't
I have
planned
the
that.
baffles as close as I can get them.
Yeah, I really think it would help if you had some earbuds or headphones because you're having to turn it up to hear it. So. And see, Randy, can you go ahead and pull up the site plan for the first item?
I certainly can.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, I tell you what, let's just go ahead and get started. And Brian can join in when he gets here. Anybody got any opposition to that?
No.
Okay. All right. I want to welcome everyone to the February 8th, 2021 meeting of the Macon-Bibb County Planning and Zoning Commission. This is a public hearing via Zoom. And for anyone who wanted to view the hearing, it is available live streamed on YouTube. For those of you who are speaking, can we get anybody who's going to speak to undo their mute for just a second? Can we do that, Mark?
Okay.
They're starting to unmute. I have to ask them. Yes.
Okay.
This is Steve Chiarello for Inman Solar.
Okay. What I'm trying to get to is each of you were given a link regarding our procedures. I hope that you have taken the opportunity to read those if you aren't very familiar with them. And if you are speaking to the commission today, prior to the beginning of your testimony, you will be asked to allow us to swear you in. These recordings are also being recorded. All right. You can take them off again, Mark.
Okay.
First thing we need to do is to approve our minutes from our previous meeting. And there is one item that I'd like to address, and that is on the Vineville Avenue presented by Lars Anderson last week. Shannon Fickling presented, and in that she made a statement that she was representing the Vineville Neighborhood Association. We received a letter from her this week saying that that was a little bit in error because she did not have the full voting membership approve that. So she was speaking simply for herself and who's the other one?
Feelings.
The Beelans, yes. So we do need to change that, Sheila.
Okay.
All right.
We can add her email,
Her
her
letter.
letter
Okay.
reference and make sure they're incorporated.
Okay, very good. All right, then I need a motion to accept the minutes from the previous.
Gene?
Yes.
Gene, I have no issue adding the letter, but the minutes are what the minutes are, and I think they were taken down correctly. Shannon corrected them afterwards, but I don't know that should change the minutes.
I thought I read the minutes in.
You follow what I'm saying?
Yeah, but I think they are in the minutes, are they not, Sheila?
They are, I did say she's representing, I did say that she was representing the Neighborhood Association.
Yes.
Yeah, I recall her saying that. And if that's in the minutes, it probably needs to remain in the minutes with something in there in today's minutes that indicate how she wishes to correct it. And that item needs to go with these minutes, but I don't think we need to change what actually occurred. You follow what I'm saying?
I do. Anybody agree or disagree?
Well, I think administratively, Gary is probably right that what was said at the hearing last time was recorded. So after the meeting, we got a correction from Shannon. So the proper thing to do is to reference that letter in today's minutes. So and we've done that, I think. So there'll be a clear record of actually what happened.
Okay.
Oh, I agree with that. Yes.
Okay.
Okay. All right. Do I have a motion?
I move that we adopt the minutes as
So moved.
presented.
Second.
Okay, all right, we have a motion and a second to approve the minutes. Okay, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? So carried. All right. Jim, you want to review the items today on today's agenda?
Sure. We're going to hear actually 4 items today. And I'll go over the items that we've moved off the agenda or that are on for ratification. Items 2 and 3, one is a C of A and one is a conditional use for Hydrolia Street and Main Street. Those items have been deferred by the staff to the next hearing, which is on February 22nd. Item 5 on Calhoun Street, 1419 Calhoun Street. That was a C of A. That's been moved to ratification. And item number 8 at 893 Riverside Drive, also a C of A. That's been moved to ratification as well. So we'll hear item 1, Colaparchie Plantation Drive. Item 4, Arlington Place, 632 Arlington Place. Item 6, 1441 Allen Road. And item 7, 6265 Hawkinsville Road.
Okay. All right, any other discussion before we begin? All right, Jim, item number 1. Item number 1.
Yeah, item 1 is 101 Colaparchie Plantation Drive. This is a variance in setback and location for a proposed detached garage. It's in the agricultural district and John Edelman is the applicant.
Mr. Edelman,
Yes, good afternoon.
tell us, give us your name and address and let Ms. Burns swear you in, please.
Yes, the name is John Edelman. The address is 101 Colaparchie Plantation Drive, 31220.
Sheila?
Mr. Elderman,
Yes, ma'am.
do you solemnly swear that the evidence that you shall give shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Tell us about your project.
What I'm proposing to do, and I think is there, can you scroll to the aerial with the proposed drawing, the proposed structure? There we go, that one. This is how my property sits today. And you can see I've got an extended driveway pad that I've already poured. And what I'm proposing is a detached garage place where it sits on this drawing, which will impede into the existing setback about 25 feet. It's a 50-foot setback. Along Colaparchie, there's a privacy fence and then already an established vegetated barrier. I think the trees are 25 or so feet high that'll block any view of the garage. And in terms of where I placed it, looking east down towards the back of my property line, the topography drops off pretty significantly down there to a natural drainage way. So I couldn't move the garage any further east. And then obviously I didn't really want to move it west, and that would put it in front of the main house. So based on what I've got to work with, that was the best spot for it. And then I've also included the plans, the architectural drawings of the proposed structure, which match my existing house. All the materials will be, the brick and everything will be the same.
Okay. All right. Do we have anyone in opposition to this, Jim?
No, ma'am, we do not.
Okay. All right. Do you have anything else you need to add, Mr. Edelman?
No, ma'am, that's it.
Okay. All right. Commissioners, do you have any questions for Mr. Edelman?
Will the rear of the garage be that, the facing Colaparchi Road?
Yeah. So the front of the garage will face my existing house, my existing garage, and then the rear will face Colaparchi.
Okay, I thought that was the case, just wanted to verify.
So yeah, and the rear, if you go up, scroll up a little bit, the rear is, yeah. So you'll have that the back of the facing Colaparchi.
So, Commission, there are two variances that Mr. Edelman's seeking. One is a distance variance because the setback is 50 feet and he's going to be encroaching 25 feet. And then the other variance is the code requires that accessory structures not be located between the house and the right of way. This is a corner property, so it's a little unique in that regard, but those are the two actual variances that he's seeking today.
Okay. All right, do I have any other questions for Mr. Edelman? Do I have a motion?
If you can go back to the main,
Pardon?
yes,
Gary, you were breaking up just a second ago. Do you want to see the architectural drawings?
I think he wants to see the first page.
Oh,
no, I want to go back to where the main, first page.
Yeah. So you'll know what to.
oh yeah, to the heading.
Yeah, there you go. There you go.
No, not completely. Come on up.
Like, I'd like to make a motion that we approve.
Yes, I would.
Sorry.
Go ahead.
No, go ahead, Brian.
I'd like to make a motion that we approve a variance and setback and location of a proposed detached garage at 101 Colaparchi Plantation Drive.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second to approve a variance in setback and location of a proposed detached
Who's
drive.
second?
Josh.
Josh?
Okay.
Or Gary one, okay.
It doesn't matter.
Okay.
In an A district at 101 Colaparchi Plantation Drive. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? So carry. Thank you, Mr. Edelman. You are approved.
Thank you very much.
All right. Jim?
Okay, Commission. Next item is number 4, 632 Arlington Place. This is an interpretation of sections 11.3 and 11.6 of the Comprehensive Land Development Resolution to allow 4 units in an existing structure as a legal non-conforming use in an HR 3 district. Sarah Randall is the applicant.
Ms. Randall?
Yes, ma'am. I'm here on behalf of my wife.
Oh.
She's an essential worker for the city, so I'm here.
Okay. All right. Give us your name and address, please, for the record.
Xavier Randall, the property we're reviewing is 632 Arlington Place, Macon, Georgia, 31201.
And your some legal address for you.
Oh, I'm sorry, ma'am. Yes, 5646 Snowden Avenue, Lakewood, California, 90713.
Okay. Sheila, you'll be asked to be sworn in. Sheila?
Good afternoon, Mr. Randall.
Amen.
Do you solemnly swear that the evidence that you shall give shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
Okay, you may proceed.
Okay. Mr. Randall, tell us about your proposal here.
So this is a property that we're currently under contract with, and we've extended that in lieu of going through this process. And it's, from my understanding, what we've discovered is it is legally a 3 unit. And however, the owners there's also a kind of stripped down fourth unit on the property that's always been there. The only history we know of is that when the sellers bought it, it was that way. I think they bought it as an REO of some type of sale many years ago, but they never fixed it up or had it permitted. And we're not looking to change any exterior structures or any of that nature. We would just like to renovate the current inside of the 4-unit and be able to have it legally classified as a 4-unit and rent it out, and which would also be, from our experience and the other properties we've owned in the area, the properties should be renting for $670, $700, but they're currently now at like 400, 500. And this would allow us to, get in there, update that 4-unit according to, the rules that we would be allowed to, and then, get some higher quality tenants in the property as well. That's as far as we know, and that's what we're asking for.
Okay. Jim, do we have anyone, or Randy, do we have anyone to speak?
We received an email from the association, the Bible Association, in town association, I guess it's in town, not Bible. Okay. Says, I'm writing this email on behalf of In-Town Macon Neighborhood Association. We would like to express our ongoing concern about both density and parking for multifamily housing. While we are excited to see multifamily properties undergo improvements, IMNA would like to see current P&Z rules enforced. The property at Arlington Place that is up for discussion today seems to not meet those requirements. We trust P&Z to make wise decisions for our neighborhood with the understand that exceptions and grandfather situations are sometimes necessary. However, we ask that you be cognizant of setting difficult precedents. Sincerely, In-Town Macon Neighborhood Association.
All right.
And their concern was based on the density requirements for it.
Okay. You want to discuss that for the record, Randy?
Ma'am,
Do you want?
it's up to you guys to discuss that.
Well,
Let
maybe.
me inform the commission.
Yeah, inform us. That's a better word.
Yeah.
I just want it on the record.
Yeah, and Randy can back me up because she's been talking with these folks, the applicant. Basically, we have a situation that you've got a property that over the years has had at some point 3 or 4 apartments on the history of the property. And we could not at staff level determine whether or not there was ever legally 4 apartments there. We have records through various sources that show at some point that house had 4 apartments. And the concern is that we're being asked to consider this a legal non-conforming use, and that requires that there's been continuous ongoing use of 4 apartments. And the other thing is that, of course, when you add a unit, then you have to deal with the density and you have to deal with the parking requirements. So we had something similar to this, if you recall, a few months back on Walnut Street, yeah. And so in looking at this, you can decide that it's a legal non-conforming use because the history is sketchy enough that we just don't have great records, that tells exactly what happened. But you also need to consider the impact of adding a 4th unit. The property is not big enough under the current regulations to have 4 units. And I don't know about the parking. They would, for 4 units, they would need 6 parking spaces. Now that's probably room, in the back to get 6 spaces. In fact, I'm sure there is, but I don't know if it's physically available. I don't know how the driveway works and how you would access that parking. So maybe the applicant could address some of that, but so that's kind of your choice. Let it exist as a legal non-conforming use because the history in the background is not totally clear, or just apply the current code as we have it that would limit it to 3 units.
How do we get to the rear of this property? Is that the driveway right here?
Yeah, Randy, could you call up the pictometry? That might help, unless the trees obscure everything.
Are all of these units 1 bedroom, 1 bath?
Yes, they are.
Oh, Jim, but this is a historical district.
It is. It's zoned HR3.
Okay, have we heard from them?
The letter that Randy just read to you was from the in-town neighborhood association, and they're concerned about this, about allowing another unit. They've asked us basically to apply the codes as they currently exist, which will limit it to 3 units, and they're concerned that because this is not unusual. Actually, there are a lot of houses that, before we had historic zoning, before we had zoning, homes were split up into apartments, and there's no record of it. So there's always some question about what was a legal non-conforming use and what was, an illegal non-conforming use.
Jim, what is the maximum number of units
He would need 3. He would need
in HR3?
It's based on number of stories, but in this case, he would need 2,000 square feet of land area for per unit. So for 3, he would need 6,000 square feet, which he has.
So is that how much does he get? How big is the property?
65.
The property is around 6,500, I think, or
It's slightly over 6,500.
It needs to be at 8,000.
Right. It needs to be slightly over 8,000.
Right.
But we just don't know if this has been operating this way for years.
Well, what we don't, as far as we know, it was not legally changed to 4 units. People do that all the time. Number 1, because they don't know. And number 2, sometimes they just don't do it because they know it's not right and they just get it in there.
All right.
So
I'm having a hard time getting it to clear for the pictometry here for me.
Okay, well, yeah, search.
It wants to stay stuck on the Colaparchi.
Okay, yeah, search Arlington Place, that address.
I am.
Okay, there. Now, if you'll, you need to hit the pictometry button that's under the search window.
Yeah.
Oh, it
And
keeps
it goes right back
yeah,
to it goes right back to Colaparchi. It will not.
Well, the address search obliterates the pictometry button. That's the problem.
Ms. Randall, do you
Yes,
have
ma'am.
a floor plan or any picture? I saw pictures on there, but what happens to this space if you can't use it as a 4th unit? Is there a way to incorporate that into one of the other units and make it a 2-bedroom apartment?
And actually that's why I was raising my hand. That was going to be my question, is that we've only looked at it as a 4th unit. And to be clear, I noticed the word add was being used. So the unit is already there. It's just not habitable. It's stripped down to the studs. So it's not an addition per se to the property. The room is there. the necessary ability for plumbing and electrical is there. It's just stripped down to the studs. So we're not adding to the property. Now, as far as parking goes, from what my appraiser has told me is there is, in his measurements, there's plenty of room in the back of the property for off-street parking. You know, we've owned 2 of these in the area, and this is far bigger than any of the areas in the back that we've had at our other properties. So if, for example, for some reason we're not allowed to, rebuild out the 4th unit, and we have to purchase this as a 3 unit, I don't know how that can be incorporated in the other properties. I haven't had that looked at in that way yet. And if we can't, what happens to that unit? Does it just sit there and deteriorate? It seems that all the benefits are to make use of that unit and make it habitable.
Madam Chair, could I ask,
Sure.
Mr. Randall,
Yes, sir.
the current state of that space that you're
I've
calling
had
a
all
unit,
kinds of
it's
things.
been used as a storage space?
Well, they've never built it out, so that's what they put spare paint cans in it, and there's pictures in the appraisal that I provided and uploaded,
Okay.
and it's just there. Yes, sir.
Okay, so it doesn't exist today with a kitchen and a bathroom. It's not a dwelling currently.
No, it cannot be lived in currently. It does have the fireplace in it, but it cannot be lived in its current state.
Okay, so is there any evidence that it has been used as an apartment with a kitchen or, facilities, a bathroom facility as a separate unit?
No, sir. There is no evidence, and even clearly stated by the seller that they have never had it occupied with a person. I did see a notation in the summary, though, that it was discovered from the directories that it was considered a 4 unit. But as far as whether or not anyone had ever, occupied that particular space, I have not heard that or come across any information.
What you saw in the summary states that I found the as far back as I could go was 1986.
Okay.
In 1986, it was 4 units. However, every directory since 1986 has only shown 3 units. So,
okay.
So we have something in 86 that said it was a 4 unit.
Yeah.
yes.
Looking at the photographs of the unit demolished, I mean, I think it's entirely possible. It's been in that condition since 1986, uninhabitable. I have another question for staff, Jim or Randy. In the staff report, it says that this is an ECD target area, and that allows some latitude around the density requirements. I don't remember that coming up before. Can you tell me what specifically that provision is?
There was a special provision that we adopted, it's been several years ago, at the request of Economic and Community Development, that they had certain target neighborhoods that I think there may be half a dozen or so, that they were looking for special relief with the idea that it'd be easier to redevelop those areas more economically if they could get some special zoning relief. I think in town was one of those areas. So it gives the staff and the commission a lot more latitude than it would in a non identified neighborhood like that.
Jim, but this is the same property that we made some adjustment on a couple of years ago. I know somewhere on Arlington in that session, we had an application for a variance, what have you.
No, that was a multifamily, I believe, and we had a C of A from Mr. Losi to convert it for Arlington.
That's right. That's a house that's across and down the street. Yeah. Yeah.
That was they were for to put a medical office building in or something. That's not what I'm talking about.
Oh,
We had-
yes, that's at the corner of Pine
Right.
and Arlington.
I'm not talking about that particular one along the same corridor. We had an application for some kind of variance or what have you. I just don't remember. And I think it was the same property.
I'm drawing a
We had
blank
a
on that,
variance
Tim.
for Mr. Whitby's wife's medical office at the corner of Arlington and Pine for a variance in her fence and some other stuff.
No.
But I don't remember anything in this section.
Okay.
Jim and Randy, what's the alternative to legal nonconforming? A variance or does it have to be rezoned?
You can't get a variance in density, so.
Right,
Got to
that's
be
one of the,
rezoned,
yeah,
which is what we just denied on Walnut.
that's correct, yeah.
I mean, my personal opinion is that the density requirements are way outdated and need to be overhauled entirely. It doesn't make a lot of sense to me to have in-town lot restriction size determine how many units it has. The floor plan of the building obviously was intended as 4 units, but if the standard is that we've got to prove that it's been continuously occupied as 4 units, everything in evidence contradicts that. It cannot have been occupied anytime recently, and most recently that we can verify is 1986. And we also don't have anything in evidence that shows that they can adequately park it based on the current zoning. So I think the zoning's terrible, but I don't see how through the current zoning we could declare it illegal non-conforming. So I don't know. I'm just going to throw that out there. I would prefer to allow them to have the 4 units, but I don't see how to do that based on the current zoning and the current evidence.
I believe this is the rear yard, and I'm not really sure how you get there.
Along the
there's an
it's along
alley.
the sideway, along the side of the house. You can't see it from this
Right
angle.
here.
You'd have to go directly from above.
There's a driveway along the side that you could access the rear, so there's obviously plenty of room to provide parking for the necessary spaces. It just would have to be, kind of developed.
If they're all 1 bedrooms, is that 1 per unit?
1.5.
Yes, 1.5.
1.5,
It's
okay.
1.5.
So they would have to have 6 parking spaces.
But Jim said he felt like there was enough room for 6
Jim,
parking spaces, right?
That's right. I mean, there's physically enough space in the backyard to get 6 parking spaces. It appears by looking at the map. Of course, it'd have to be developed. I mean, it's just yard and landscaping.
When we discussed the property
Jim,
on Walnut Street, he didn't have enough parking, did he not?
Parking with him wasn't the issue. And his case, I think he was like, what was it, Randy? Less than 500 square feet short of what he needed to get that 4th unit in that house. But he actually applied for rezoning so he could get that 4th unit. And we denied the rezoning mainly because there was opposition from in town, but also because it was kind of a spot zone in that regard.
But approved 3, but he was actually a rezoning and conditional use.
Yeah.
He wasn't trying to rehab something that has existed.
Right, because it was actually an office, I believe, that was being converted to apartments. And I'd like to,
Jim,
yeah.
appears to be what formerly an alley was there appears to be an alley, an extinguished alley that this gentleman's house backyard can be accessed. But with that said, with Josh in unit, I think is for in town is a little steep. In fact, it's a lot steep. And it's 100 feet. And would suspect that other unit that he's attempting to remodel is probably between 750 and 1,000. That's more than enough square footage to accommodate 1 bedroom, 1 bath. I certainly don't want to continue with a non-conforming, but I'm in agreement with Josh that
Gary,
Okay.
I caught about half of what you said because I think your Wi-Fi is wonky. You might want to call in, but I actually would add to that. I
Can you hear me?
actually, that's good. If you were saying that the current
probably
zoning,
wasn't extinct.
if you were saying that you thought the current zoning should allow this type of thing, to back up what Josh was saying, I actually agree. I think the codes that deal with this are just really archaic, and this is truly a mixed use neighborhood, and you have a mix of single family apartments,
Yes.
offices, and so when you can physically allow 4 units in that house without any real impact, other than going against what the current regulations say, it's a little bit ironic. But we definitely need to redo all those codes that address those kind of things.
My gut is that based on section 21.09, the economic and community development target areas, and knowing that this is designated as a target area, it says the zoning enforcement officer may reduce the minimum standards for residential properties. I think that's clearly where we fall in this. So regardless to me of whether we can declare it a legal non-conforming use or not, based on its existence in a target area and the existing floor plan and the documented evidence through the floor plan and the city directory that it was occupied as 4 units, at least in the past, if not in the recent past, I'd be inclined to approve it.
All right, that's where I stand as well.
All right. Any other discussion?
I'm with Josh and Brian.
Any other discussion or questions for Mr. Randall? All right, if not, then I will entertain a motion.
Madam Chair, I'd like to make a motion that we approve the interpretation of the comprehensive land development resolution to allow 4 units in an existing structure as legal non-conforming at 632 Arlington Place.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second to approve the interpretation of sections 11.3 and 11.6 of the comprehensive land development resolution to allow 4 units in an existing structure as legal non-conforming in an HR3 district at 632 Arlington Place. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed?
Aye.
Who was that? That you, Gary? Anybody?
Yes, aye.
Okay, so we've got a 4-1.
No, I didn't oppose it.
Oh, okay, so we're 5-1 then.
No,
5-0.
No, 5-0. I think Gary's.
5-0.
Yeah, I think Gary's Wi-Fi is lagging, so you're.
Okay, all right. All right, so then all in favor
I'm
say
on
aye.
delayed.
Let's do it again. All in favor say aye.
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 All
Aye.
All opposed? So carried. Mr. Randall, you've just been approved for 4 units.
Thank you, ma'am. Will I receive something in writing, and where do I go from here?
You will receive in writing. We'll get the you'll be directed on your next steps, which will be permitting.
Okay, thank you so much, and you all have a wonderful day.
You too. All right, Jim?
Okay, next item is number 6, 1441 Allen Road. This is a conditional use to allow a power solar plant in an agricultural district. Inman Solar is the applicant.
All right. Mr. Solar?
Yes, hi, this is Steve Chiarello. speaking on behalf of Inman Solar. Can everyone hear me okay?
Yes, just need your name and address to begin with.
Yes. My name is Steve Chiarello. It's spelled Chiariello. And my address is 790 Clemont Drive, Atlanta, Georgia, 30306.
Okay, I'm going to ask Ms. Burns to swear you in. Sheila?
Afternoon. Do you solemnly swear that the evidence that you shall give shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
All right.
Thank you. You may.
All right. Tell us about your application, Lisa.
Sure. So real quick, so Inman Solar, we are the developer and constructor of this project, should it be approved. We've been doing solar projects of this kind in Atlanta for about 10 years, or in Georgia, I should say, for about 10 years. We are based in Atlanta, and we do all aspects of the project from the zoning phase through construction and maintenance. The solar farm would be owned and operated by an investor partner of ours, a subsidiary of a large public utility. And the project would be have a 30-year power purchase agreement to sell the power to Georgia Power. And so in that capacity, it will be completely independent from any customers around it. So there'll be no impact on power bills. It probably have a slight improvement to power quality as a result of the project being there, but no detrimental effects on the grid or the neighbors. The property is owned by Mr. Skipper, who has been the farmer on this site and others for years. I'm not sure how long. It's currently a soybean farm and has some kind of winter on it. The project would be about 12,000 solar panels, rather, taking up about 20 land. It's about 3.9 megawatts is the size. And right now, per the site plan that I'm not sure if that's been pulled up or not, but we're looking at leaving a setback of 100 feet there's residences to the south where there's an existing pretty dense vegetative buffer too, and then 100 feet to Allen Road on the east. And then on the west side, we've showing a 50-foot setback to the west and to the north. Those are both densely wooded areas. The north is property owned by Mr. Skipper and would continue to be farmed, and the west is in probably timberland there. The site will be, for the most part, stabilized in natural native grasses, so that we're really only we'll be disturbing under an acre of the site from what's there now. And then, so we don't anticipate cutting down trees or doing any sort of land disturbing activities, with the exception of perhaps an odd tall tree that may be on that west boundary that would potentially shade us. This is a tracking solar system, so the panels will follow the sun during the day. There's essentially, or the access to the site, I should say, is from the south side there. There's an existing drive in off of Allen before Allen turns to the north. That's also where our utilities will come into the site. And really, solar panels, I'll just say in general, make very good neighbors. They're quiet. They sit there and they don't really require little or no maintenance. We'll have people coming onto the site about once a month to cut the grass, and twice a year to do routine maintenance on the site. But otherwise, they don't make any noise. And I guess the last point, the biggest benefit, of course, to the county is the property taxes. This land is currently in conservation use, and the solar at this size would generate between $40,000 and $45,000 in year one in additional property taxes, without putting kids in school or cars on the road or calling the police, those kind of things. So anyway, I'll open it up to questions.
All right. Gentlemen, commissioners, do you have any questions?
I'm struggling with the commentary, I'm sorry.
Could I ask, Chairman?
Go ahead.
And I'm sorry, you may have said, I may have missed it. Will the site be, have a fence for security?
Yes, it will. The site will be surrounded in a 6-foot fence with a 1-foot barbed wire section on top, which meets National Electrical Code.
Okay.
And then it'll have signs posted incrementally, listing it as a hazard, again, per code.
Okay.
But what are the, I'm sorry, go ahead.
I was just going to ask, so when you tie into the grid, is that done underground, or do you just tie into the grid that's out there now?
So we tie into the existing grid, which comes along Allen Road. This is on the distribution lines, not on the transmission lines. There are transmission lines a little further to the west between us and some of these larger properties. But the lines coming off of our project would transition onto the site overhead from Georgia Power, and then we would transition them underground further back into the sites. So at Allen Road, they would turn onto the site, much like you'd see on any commercial building, 3-phase, and then we would transition underground.
Thank you.
They'll have some piece of equipment on the pole, and then we'll, when they transition on, and then like a meter, and then we'll transition down underground.
You spoke about having like hazardous signs. What type of hazards should people be aware of?
There are no real hazards per se. I mean, it is a solar farm, and as such, we don't want people running around in there, just like anything else. But if you were in there walking around, there's nothing exposed. There's no voltage present in it. You would have to open up an electrical panel that was locked in order to be exposed to something that was dangerous. But again, per code, it does require that we have signs up that indicate that there is high voltage present. But this is the same type of equipment that would be used in commercial buildings. If you went behind a shopping center or strip mall or something, you saw a transformer, pad-mounted transformer, and an electrical panel. It's the same voltage. It's the same equipment, both in and out.
Okay, thank you. All right, anything else, gentlemen? Do we have anyone to speak?
No, ma'am.
All right. If we have no further questions, do I have a motion?
Madam Chair, I'd like to make a motion that we approve a conditional use at 1441 Allen Road to allow a 3.9 megawatt solar power plant in an ag district.
I have a second. All right. Brian has second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Oh, we have a motion and a second to allow a 3.9 megawatt solar power plant in an ag district at 1441 Allen Road. Everyone approved? No dissenting? You're approved. All in favor?
Thank you very much.
All right, thank you. Jim?
Okay, next item is number 7, property at 6265 Hawkinsville Road. This is a conditional use to allow overnight parking and storage of semi-tractors and trailers in an M1 district. Veronica Reagan, Don Holtz, Terry's Truck Package and Storage, LLC is the applicant. Sorry, Parking and Storage, LLC is the applicant.
Ms. Reagan, Mr. Holtz, anybody here?
Yeah, I was here for this also, Tony White.
Oh, hey, Tony.
And I'm Libra Mitchell. I'm their broker representing the buyers.
And what was your name again? Oh, I see.
Libra Mitchell.
Okay, now I see you. Libra Mitchell. Okay. As we stated earlier to others, you were given a link to our procedures. I hope you had an opportunity to look at those. Now we'll have you sworn in by Sheila Burns.
Good afternoon. Do you solemnly swear that the evidence that you shall give shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes, I do.
Yes.
Thank you.
Is the applicant on there?
Yes. Well, Ms. Reagan and Mr. Holtz are not here, but.
Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Okay, I'm on here. This is Mr. Holtz.
Okay, I see. Okay. All right, were you listening to the swearing in?
Yes, ma'am. And I said, I swear.
Okay, all right. Then which one of you wants to go first? Tell us about your project.
Tony, you want to hand over? Go ahead.
I can talk. I'm kind of late to this process. I mean, this was here, I guess, last year and was referred over to the Regional Development Authority for, the Regional Development folks for their review. And we submitted to them and they have basically approved it and said they don't have any problem with it. This location used to be a mobile home manufacturing sales facility. So it's in an industrial area and we're basically proposing to use it for a storage facility, which is a real need in the community for tractor trailers and RVs and boats and those kinds of things. But basically it's a storage facility. I think at some point there was a misconception that was going to be, I guess it was classified as a truck stop, which raises all kinds of other requirements that are not required in the storage facility.
Okay, and is this like overnight parking or is this for dealers who want to?
It's long-term parking.
Okay.
I mean, according to the owner, they have 3 other facilities around the Atlanta area, and they generate about 50 trips per day because people park it for 3 weeks or 4 weeks and they come and go. But anyways, I know like, Gene, in our neighborhood, we have people that park their tractor trailers and I mean, it's just a problem all over. So it kind of helps solve a problem. And this is an industrial area. It will have little impact, and then they're going to go back in and the existing structure going to go there, will remodel it and use it for their office.
Okay, and will this be a gated access, or do you just drive in and go to the office, or how does that work? Mr. Ray, Mr. Holtz, can you?
Yes, ma'am. It's a gate with a code that you need to get in. Each driver will have his own code, or each tenant would have their own code, but it's totally secure. We have security cameras, new lighting that's going in, as well as probably have a attendant there during the day and night, possibly a guard.
Okay.
So, but yeah, it is fenced in completely, and you will need a gate code to come in and out of the facility.
Okay. All right, commissioners, do you have any other questions for Mr. Holtz or Tony?
I have a question for Jim.
Okay.
I noticed in the write-up from the Georgia Department of Transportation, if, and I sure hope we approve it, that they would have to meet those requirements after we issue whatever we issue if we approve it.
That's right. the GDOT has made some comments on the
Right.
project that we will make conditions of any approval. So all those things will be addressed at the time they start their permitting process.
Second, I just want to make a comment. I think this is much needed in the community. We need some more parking spaces for semis. Those folks are now essential to our surviving the pandemic, but at the same time, we need to protect our neighborhoods, and most of those trucks are parked in socioeconomic deprived neighborhoods. Just this week, I had to run one off of the parking lot of my church. You know, they need places to park, but it also need to be regulated. And I hope we can get a hold of this. And I think this is one step towards correcting the problem in the community.
Okay, thank you, Tim. All right, anybody else with any comments or questions for Mr. Reagan or Mr. Widener? Or Hope?
Gene, Madam Chairman, I agree with Commissioner Jones. It is much needed, and it will be it'd be a great improvement to that section of 247.
Okay. All
May
right.
I just add something?
Sure.
As their agent, I've known Donna Bronica for quite some time, and this will be one of many. We're currently under contract on this property, so they would love to actively improve the community all over Macon if they could find more properties that they identify to do the same thing.
Okay.
Great.
Thank you. All right, commissioners, any more questions? If not, I need a motion.
Madam Chair, I'd like to make a motion that we allow conditional use to allow overnight parking and storage of semi-tractor trailers at 6265 Hawkinsville Road.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second to approve a conditional use to allow overnight parking and storage of semi-tractors and trailers in an M1 district at 6265 Hawkinsville Road. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Okay, so carried. All right, you are approved, Mr. Widener and Mr. Holtz.
Thank you so
Okay,
much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right.
Madam Chair,
yes.
you've got two ratification items, one at 1419 Calhoun Street, the certificate of appropriateness, and one at 893 Riverside Drive, also a certificate of appropriateness.
Okay, may I have a motion?
Madam Chair, I'd like to make a motion that we approve the ratification items, a certificate of appropriateness at 1419 Calhoun Street and a certificate of appropriateness at 893 Riverside Drive.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to approve the ratification items as discussed. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? So carried. All right. Motion to adjourn. Got anything else, Jim?
Nope, just next meeting is February 22nd.
Okay. All
Hey,
right.
Jim, the items we deferred to March 8th,
Yes.
we're gonna have a pre-commission meeting on that day.
We,
Those are actually, they're deferred to the 22nd if you're referring to Hydrolia.
but yes, we can do whatever
We
the
can
commission.
have one.
Yeah, sure.
Okay. All right, so
Well,
plan,
I'm just thinking those are gonna be difficult, knowing what we've been through previously over there.
Right,
Okay.
and we're going to have a fair amount of opposition on those too, so.
Okay.
all right. So next meeting is February the 22nd, 2021, and we will have a pre-meeting. All right, motion to adjourn.
So
Madam
moved.
Chair, I'd like to make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second to adjourn. All in favor say aye.
Yeah.
Okay. I was waiting for Gary to come in. All in favor, all opposed say no. So carried.
Mhm.
Thank you very much.
Thank y'all. See you next time.
Aye.
They say.
Thank y'all.
Sheila?
Yes.